Hey guys, happy spring break for those of you on spring break, or if you're living up north and you're getting ready for a blizzard. I hope you guys stay warm. Welcome if you're on live. If you're here live, say hi in the comments, and if you're watching the replay, hello. Glad to have you here today. We are on episode 17 of our journey to stress busting. If this is your first time watching an episode, remember you can get a lot more information and strategies on how to bust the stress by going to the video section in the Facebook group, because all the videos are recorded there. And I got to tell you, some of my favorite ones were the ones in the beginning where we just talked about what's happening in the body when you are feeling stressed, because those stress responses in the body is what's killing us. And until we recognize that that's happening, we don't know how to slow it down. I can tell you, I just had a stress response. My little baby, who's actually almost 16, just left for a day on the beach with some friends. And you have to really work at that. I am feeling like that response is happening, but I'm telling myself it's going to be fine, that, you know, she's going to have a great day, she's going to come home safe, and that's what it's about. See, we have these little stresses that happen all the time, whether it's from worry or from things that we put into place in our life that just cause chaos, or other people being stressed, which we're going to, stressing us out, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. All those stresses causes feeling in our bodies. So I recognize that as a perceived, remember we talked about it being perceived, a perceived pressure or a fear that may not even be real. And if you can recognize that happening, you can stop it. So I'm working on that. And remember, we said it's a journey together. I'm not perfect at stress relief. I am a recovering stress addict. And one of the things that has helped me is really teaching these classes as well, because I have a lot of knowledge, but when you teach it, it kind of deepens it a little bit more. So even the emotional eating part, it was like, wow, yeah, this happened yesterday because of this. And that was huge. I had a huge breakthrough on that. After I taught that class, I realized that I was reaching for something. I had this urge for something because I felt a little lost at what my next steps were on a project. And I was like, this is one of the reasons why I go to get that dopamine kick, or I get that, I want that urge to satisfy because I'm lost on a project. So that was huge for me. It was a big breakthrough. So I'm excited that I'm on this journey with you guys, because not only do I get to share this amazing information that hopefully is helping you, I hope it's helping you, but I also get to get stronger in my own walk. So that's exciting. So if you are a praying person, I ask that you pray in agreement that Kaylee will have a wonderful, safe day and come home safe from her day with teenagers at the beach. I appreciate any help in that category. And I will definitely, when it sparks up into my spirit today, I'm going to tell it the truth. And the truth is, she's a wonderful girl. She's going to have a wonderful day with her wonderful friends. So that's our training, that we have to retrain our brain not to be focused on the perceived fears and pressures, but to really teach it the truth and to not worry about something that hasn't even happened. So, all right, so back to our episode today. We're talking about clutter and how it affects us. How many of you have clutter in your life? Drop a 1 in the comments. If you were somebody, I'm actually looking at the screen as well, because I'm trying to see the comments in more real time. So let me just see if I can see. Oh, Carmen's on. Awesome. I love you, Carmen. If you have clutter in your life, any piles, any junk that just seems to just pile up, I would love to see that, a 1 in the comment. Carmen says, my whole life is a big clutter. Well, I hope today's episode helps to clear some of that clutter. And that's a really big statement, because if you're feeling that your whole life is a big clutter, then there are those areas of life that need to be addressed. And it's so overwhelming to address all of them at one time, that's why we get to this whole, it's a big mess, and I can't deal with it. And then we don't deal with anything. So looking at those areas of life, and remember under the file section, there's that little worksheet that helps you to really pinpoint 1 or 2 areas that you want to work on first. And then you work on those by creating some action steps. So I'm getting some good live comments, so that's awesome. And I'm seeing them on my other big screen, so that's great. All right, so yesterday I tried to share a few things that help me to work from home when there are distractions, and that, you know, cause me to feel a little unfocused. And if you work from home, and or even if you're just home, you know, there are going to be times that you feel unfocused. And some of the strategies yesterday were to try to help you with that, creating schedules, assigning different chores, really keeping your space private. Today we're going to talk about that space, and when that space is cluttered, what happens? See, we might work from home, or maybe we go to an office, or maybe for my teacher friends on here, we have a classroom. And those spaces sometimes can get very unorganized. They can have messes that we avoid. And even though we may not attribute that mess to giving us some underlying stress, it does. Messy spaces leave us feeling anxious. They make us feel helpless, and sometimes we feel overwhelmed because those spaces are still there. We don't even realize it's happening because, you know, we don't usually blame the clutter for being the stress in our life. You know, we just think of it as a mess that we have to clean up. But it is this underlying feeling of guilt that we aren't doing something about it. We might feel a little guilty because we let it get that far, or that we haven't spent the time to do it, or we're not motivated to do it. Why is that happening? Why? And even though we aren't saying all that orally to ourselves out loud, subconsciously, that brain is so powerful. So we have to really recognize that that mess and that clutter and those piles actually do affect us subconsciously. And it may be contributing to that feeling of things are worse than they are. Things may not be as bad as they are, but because of the clutter, that may be adding to the stress. See, clutter will bombard our senses. It'll bombard our mind with this excessive stimuli that it's trying to process. Our brain will work overtime to try to understand what is all, even on my desk. You know, my desk is like pretty organized. I'm a semi-organized person, but I have, if something is like out of place, I'm processing that stimuli. And because I could recognize that that's happening, I know sometimes it's overworking my brain. So I do try to keep things in their places because I feel comfortable if the Post-it pad is right where it's supposed to be. If it's out of place, I have to like, I don't know, my brain recognizes that, why did it move? I mean, there's like this little mini conversation going on internally that I don't even have knowledge that's happening, you know, like, well, why did that Post-it move? Did I need that Post-it? Yeah, it's just crazy stuff for simple stuff. So when you have a lot of clutter, you have to, you are actually trying to digest all that information. Even in your home, when there's things chore-wise that have to be done. Today I did a quick vacuum of the floor, but I know it needs to be mopped. Now it looks pretty good, but I know it needs to be mopped. I see the little smudges and I'm looking down at it now and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, yeah, it needs to be mopped. Now I can avoid it because I'm not, you know, but it's never going to get done if I avoid it. So I have to put in place some strategies to make sure that I get simple chores done and stay organized. The girls' office, you know, the camera is always a little bit to the closed door, but I want to show you. Look at that office there. That's going to be a project this week because that's the room that we're going to spend some time on. The girls, they say a creative mind has a lot of clutter. And I think a creative mind can do a lot more in an uncluttered space because it opens up this space in your mind that allows you to think more clearly and to think of new things. See, my girls are very cluttered in the sense that they just are so busy with this and that they just put things everywhere. And somewhere along the way, they found that that could mean that they're very creative. And it's true, but that just means a creative person might have to stay on top of it, because imagine how far they can get if they actually cleared the clutter and had the space in their mind. So Janet says, everything in its place for me is easier to find, and I'm looking for it, thus less stress. Yeah, when you look for something and you can't find it, it's adding more stress. So putting it in its place, but it takes work to put everything in its place. Absolutely a less stressful situation when you get in the habit of doing it. So think about walking through that cluttered office every day. I mean, it's a mess. Or the room in your bedroom when you have the piles of clothes out of your place. Your brain is registering each piece of that information, and it's saying every single time, oh, I should do that. I should do that. Obviously, if you don't actually put a priority on it, you don't realize that it's giving you that underlying stress. Like the girls, they don't realize that that office and the papers everywhere is really affecting them in any negative way. And at their age, because of their responsibility level, they may not even care, and it may not be affecting them, but years and years and years and years of living in a life and your responsibilities growing and growing, those little things, those messes will actually affect them negatively. It distracts us. I mean, every time they go in there to work and there's papers everywhere, it distracts them from really focusing on what they need to do. You know, Kaylee's searching, like Janet said, for something that she needs. It distracts us from what we're supposed to focus on. So we have to work. We have to work at making it less physically and mentally draining each day when we're in our spaces, so that we can actually clear the way for more positive, energetic, and creative flow. That signal that's being sent to the brain, it has to spend time on it. And who wants to spend time? If it's spending time on that, it's not going to spend time on other things. Let's think about some strategies for this, okay? So what can we do to actually get rid of the mess and the clutter and the things that are causing us to feel guilty when we shouldn't really have to worry about that? We don't want those alarms going off to cause us to feel more stressed than we need to. Carmen says, Tom is a hoarder, and yes, he's very creative. Yeah. And you know, a creative person collects a lot of stuff. And I'm glad you commented on that, Carmen, because when you are somebody that thinks that there might be a use for every single thing in the world, that's a problem. You know, your brain goes ding, 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 and like, oh, look, I have a red paper clip, and this will come in handy someday. I have 6,000 paper clips, but this red one is going to mean something. So I'm going to put it right here. And it's going to be there when that creative idea comes through. And I'm going to have it right there. That's a lot of junk hanging around just in case. And so it's hard when you live with someone that's not motivated to see that, but you also can do some things to keep that under control. So we definitely want to work on that. You being organized with your own space, and that's where we talked about even in the meditation episode, that you want a clear space that's just clear of clutter so that you don't have to feel invaded with any of that stimuli. So work on getting your space. You might have someone that hoards in your home, and that style frustrates you. And tomorrow our topic is, what do you do with people that stress you out? Maybe some of that will help. But you know, making sure that the spaces that you live in daily are clear of all that clutter is important. And talking to them maybe might help, but I don't know. I'm sure you guys know that that's a little bit more challenging and a bigger project to try to change them than to change what we actually live and what we experience every day. We want to work on ourselves. So let's get to the strategies. So what can we do? What can we do about that stress that we're feeling from the clutters? We can get rid of it. We can get rid of not maybe the people we live with's clutter, but our clutter. So I recommend assigning some sections of the house to the people that you live with. And that might be a way to help, you know, telling Tom, I know you have a desire to keep everything in case you can use it, but we got to determine a place that's yours. And then I'm gonna close the door because I don't want to see that place. I don't want to be hit all the time with that stuff that's in there. So let's make a pretty nice place for you to keep your stuff and keep it organized. I have a detached garage, easy for me. If something's out of place and I know it's Bernie's, I just bring it out there. And it's so funny because he'll tell me, you know, why are you putting it there? I got to keep this place. It's his. So I just put it out there. So that, and I can close it. I can close the garage. And you can think of a way to give that person a space, but assign those sections. This is your space and I want you to do whatever you want with it because I can close the door. But in our living spaces where we're shared, I am going to keep the dining room organized and I want you to keep the living room organized, or not even I want you. Ask them, what space do you want to keep organized? Because we have to have some shared responsibilities here because this clutter is causing me stress. So you want to assign sections, and if you live alone, hopefully you have the clutter of only one person and not 4 people, 2 people, so that one person clutter is a little bit more manageable. And you, of course, will be assigned all the spaces of your home, which is a benefit sometimes, and maybe not. All right, so design. Second thing I want to tell you to do is design spaces for the things that you use. If you have a crochet habit or you're an artist and you need to have a space for those kind of wonderful talents and gifts that you have, create the space. Take some time to label what you want to put in them. That space is going to feel special if you take the time to organize it and you make sure that you have it where it's there for you. And like we said, every time you put something away, you put it back in the same spot. All right, now strategy number 3, which I love this idea, and I know it's hard to do, but it's called the box it up. All right, I want you to think about taking one area, whether it's a room in your house or whether it's a desk space in your office. Box it up. Literally just box it up. And say to yourself, it's okay because I'm going to actually go through all of this. And so what you're doing is you're taking everything in that space. And when we clean out that office that I told you about this week, that's what we're doing. We're going to actually box it up. And we're going to leave it. And there'll be a few weeks where the boxes will maybe be there. But then we're going to take once a week, maybe another box, or once a week we'll spend some time on some of the boxes. And when you put that space of time between you and the things that are in the boxes, when you go to open that box up and you look at it and you look at it, it doesn't mean as much to you. So the box it up to me is a really strong strategy to get rid of the clutter because you can actually, one, feel okay that you're putting it in the box. You're not worried about the stuff being thrown away because you know you're going to go through it again. It's not like, oh my gosh, I can't give this away. I love this little thing. No, you're just boxing it up so that you can go through it again in a few weeks. But what happens is you put that time between you and the items and you don't feel as much of the attachment to it. So when you go through the box, you're like, oh, then you have 2 boxes. You have another box right next to it. And you're like, okay, no, I didn't even use that for 4, it's been 3 weeks since I decided to put the box it up strategy. I don't even use this. Put it in the box for donation. There'll be detachment to those items because you hadn't seen them every day and you didn't use them every day. So, well, obviously if you're using them every day, they're not going to go in the box to donate, but you get what I say, what I mean, I hope. Using that, get some empty boxes, put everything in the space that you're trying to clear out in these boxes. Give yourself that couple of weeks between you and those boxes. Love your cleared out space because you will feel good. That extra stimuli of looking at those piles and looking at all that junk, you will feel good that you don't have that. And you'll actually want that feeling to continue. So when you go through the box, it will be harder to not let it go. It'll be harder not to let it go because you'll start to love that space and you won't want it again. So I think that strategy really works really well. So get some empty boxes, pick one space in your room or your house or an area in your house to just box it up and leave it. Just leave it. because you're gonna go through it again. You're not saying it's garbage right in that moment. It's just going to be put away for a little while. And then in a few weeks, you go back to one box at a time. And if you can do this regularly, you'll end up having a less cluttered house. You'll feel better, and the stuff won't accumulate as quickly if you get into that pattern. And that's where the next strategy I want to recommend is designating a time every single day. And when I say designating time, I mean it's the same time every single day, and it's 20 minutes, maybe 10, but I would say 20 minutes, where you're actually going to schedule the clutter time, okay? And you're gonna look at whether it's boxing up the room or going through a box because it's a few weeks later, or you're tackling another space, or you're just going through some papers. 20 minutes a day, just like you take 20 minutes to go in the shower, or you take, the 30 minutes to go on your exercise machine. You want to spend time decluttering your life, or it just keeps piling up. So if you spend that 20 minutes consistently, your brain will, when it walks through the room and sees the junk and the extra stimuli, it won't be as worried about it because it knows that you actually will be working on it later. It will come to believe and trust that it will be handled. Right now, when we go through and we see all that junk, our brain feels guilty because we don't really know when we're going to get to it. And we feel unmotivated about going to work on it because it's so overwhelming. So then we start to feel this guilt, and we feel stressed, and we feel the heaviness. If you know and you teach your brain that, 20 minutes after dinner I spend on clutter time, or 20 minutes when I get home from work after I've done my meditation, I'm going to spend on clutter time. If you can start to do that regularly, your brain, when it sees that junk or mess or clutter, it won't feel as stressed, and that's important. So has that been helpful to anybody today? I hope that's given you some things to think about. Let me check the screen and see. I got Janet and Carmen. Awesome. Do you guys have any questions about boxing it up or clutter time? Those are the two big ones to me. Taking the time to really designating a space to your other household members is important too, but if you are really wanting to tackle the clutter, get some empty boxes and do the box it up strategy. Spend the time planning it in your day, 20 minutes where you're going to spend on clutter time. Those two alone will help you immensely. One, get rid of some extra stuff, and two, train your brain to know that you will actually be addressing it. It's not a doomsday kind of situation. It's not that extra stimuli always having to be processed, because it will start to know that 20 minutes every day you will be processing it. So it'll kind of clear some headspace. So I'm excited that we have been on this journey of busting the stress. Again, if you've just caught a few of these episodes, go back. The beginning episodes are so powerful on what the stress response is in your body and how to just stop it from happening, or why it's important to stop it from happening. But even though we're kind of at the end of our 30-day journey, do you believe that already? We've done, this is our last week in 30 days that we've been together on this journey. I kind of don't want it to end. So I've decided it's not going to end. We're going to actually continue. Yay! We're going to keep going on this journey together, because I think that it's so important. And I know the group of people that are in here committed to making sure that their lives are less stressed, want more. So I'm excited. I've been talking to some of you, and I think we need to work at continuing to get rid of the stress. So I've decided after this week's commitment of the live videos, I want to keep going. I want to keep us together. So we're going to going to like a question each week, and I'm going to actually post one this week. We're going to experiment with that this Friday, and I'll be doing a video answering and responding to your questions and comments about stress. So this week's question, and I'll put it in the group when we get off this live, that I'll be responding to on this Friday's episode is, what is the one thing that you've learned from the episodes that you're still wanting to work on? Because there's been so much. Like, we laid the foundation, and there's no possible way you could have addressed all of it. There's just no way. The morning routine, the areas of life, the spontaneous versus ongoing. There's just been so much. So what is the one thing that you might have gotten sparked from interest-wise, or that you realize that there might be something in that area that you need to work on? I want you to like use that as the comment or the question, and then if you could just ask, what do you think would help you to move forward in that area? And that will be something I can address. So I'm going to take those questions and comments and respond to them in a video each Friday. So that's going to be the pattern for the future, and then we can keep together this community of people. Just this week we added like 6 or 7 more people to our group. So I know that people want to release this stressful feeling that they have, and I want to help them with that. And I want us to continue as a community dedicated together to helping each other. So I hope that works for you guys, that we keep going and not just end after the 30 days. It won't be every day live like this, but it will be a way for us to stay connected. I see some questions and comments now. Let's see. Carmen says he's got plenty of space. It's called the garage. My car doesn't fit most of the time. Yeah. And Carmen, how did I know? And when you are trying to fit your car into that garage, it's probably very stressful. Even though you've gotten to maybe accept it, every time you drive that car in there, you get a reminder that this is an unorganized space. So you have to probably relinquish that to him, and really mentally accept that that's not your space and you're borrowing it to put your car in. And that way it's not hitting you every time you go home and try to park your car in there. I know. I don't park my car in the garage. It's in the driveway. But I know when I go through or go over to his garage, it's a totally different story. But because I kind of relinquished that space to him, it makes me feel a little better because I have a little control over my space, which is right here. So decide which spaces are yours and control them. Let's see, is there any other questions or comments today? I'm so excited when I get to talk to you guys live with those. All right, awesome. I appreciate the hearts and the likes. Guys, if you're not caught up on the episodes, go back to a few. They're all titled. So go under the video section on the Facebook group, look at a title that just hits you today that you might want to learn from, and then just watch it, maybe 20 minutes, maybe shorter, and just get something out of it so that you can stop this cycle of being stressed out. And I'm looking forward to changing to the question and answers and really supporting us on this journey after the 30 days. So I'm thrilled about that. Thank you, Carmen, for being here faithfully, and I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a good day.